Hi, today I'd like to do a video on the concept of a secret. With everything that's been going on recently, and as I've talked about with certain individuals not liking that I have certain content on my channel, I think that this would be a good topic to discuss because a lot of people have been leaving comments, arguing one way or the other. I've seen arguments on the internet and other places one way or the other. So this issue of something being a secret is something that I really would like to discuss with some real-world examples that I'm going to give you today. So, there are certain things that I've tried to keep a secret, and one of the secrets that I did my best to keep when I was about 11 or 12 years old was a girl that I liked when we went to the Staten Island Swim Club. My parents had gotten some really cheap, ridiculously cheap memberships so that we could actually afford to go to this place every summer. And there was this one girl that I had this big crush on. She was very tan. She had long brown hair. She was my age. And she either had a all pink bathing suit two-piece or all yellow bathing suit two-piece. And I did my best to keep this a secret. I challenge every single one of you 186,000 subscribers to tell me who was it that I had a crush on. And I've given you a decent amount of hints over here. I've given you some hints. And I believe strongly that there is not a single one of you that will figure out who that is. My name is obvious. Where I grew up is obvious. I don't hide behind, I'm not like playing a video game while I'm talking with some type of RoboCop voice. I am me. I tell you who I am. That's a secret. Can you find out my secret? Now, let's talk about a different thing that can be construed as a secret that I don't believe to be a secret. Let's talk about a 3-volt power line that goes to a keyboard or a trackpad on this 820-00165 motherboard. This motherboard has obviously seen better days, but this is something that that there are people out there that may construe this as a secret. They may think that this is a secret. The trackpad and the keyboard are powered by a 3.3 volt power line, and there is a resistor acting as a fuse in between that 3.3 volt power line and the keyboard and the trackpad. It makes sense to have a fuse between the 3.3 volt power line and the keyboard and trackpad because the keyboard and the trackpad are the first items that will be damaged by water if water were to be spilled onto the machine. The idea of having a fuse in between a power line and the first part of the device that will have contact with the outside world is not a patented, nor is it a trade secret, nor is it a copyrightable concept. It is a concept that has existed literally since the beginning of electricity. Now, I would like for you to hear what the sound of something that is not a secret is. When something is open, obvious, public, and not concealed, I want you to hear the sound of a secret. So, if you want to figure out who that girl is that had a crush on me, you cannot buy a meter for $20 at Radio Shack, do this, and have her name and address and information show up on the meter. When something is truly a secret, you can't use a tool like this to figure it out. But when something is not a secret, you could turn this to continuity test mode, do something like this, and find out a secret. So the keyboard and the trackpad in this machine are plugged into this. It's not a secret. All you need to do is remove the screws in the bottom of the machine, and you'll see that the keyboard and the trackpad plug into this. I want you to hear the sound of something not being a secret. Let me know once you've heard it. So I'm going to put the multimeter to a couple of different points. This is a pain in the ass to hold like this. Blah. Yeah, royal pain in the ass. Hear that? That's the sound of something that's not a secret. Just in case you missed it. That's the sound of something that's not a secret. If I wanted to know the value of that component sitting between the 3.3 volt power line and the keyboard and the trackpad, I could turn this into the standard resistance mode. I could move the camera so that you could see it. I'll make sure that it's in view. And then I'll do this. That's the number of something that's not a secret. Just in case you missed it, I'll do it one more time. See that? That's the number of something that's not a secret. You see, you can't say that something's a secret when you've literally given me the information. If I write down the name of that girl on a piece of paper and then I hand it to you, I can no longer say that that's a secret. There's nothing on this that is a secret. This is something that is given to literally every single person who is willing to pay for it when they buy the product. And that would be my argument when it comes to a secret. Now, if there is any argument in terms of oh, well, you don't actually do that. Well, there are many machines that are out right now that do not have these documents. There are machines out where a lot of what's on this board is the same as what was on last year's board, so I can just look up a schematic from last year, but there are also parts that have changed. And when those parts have changed, what I need to do in order to figure out a problem is sit here for 8 hours, block out the world, play some angry music, turn off my phone, and sit here and do this all day. And go through every single point on the board until I figured out where one point reaches another. Let's do this with something else. Let's try a different part of the board. Let's try the battery charging circuit. Here's another secret. So I already challenged you to figure out the name of the first girl that I ever had a crush on. How about this? If I were to tell you to find out what components the ISL 6259 chip talks to on an 820-3437 motherboard, could you answer that question? Now, I want to show you the sound of that not being a secret. Let's go over this again because this is still an important point that I want to get home to everybody. So we're going to attach something that I think it may talk to over here. But what part? Oh, it's a secret which pin it talks to, right? One. That's the sound of the ISL 6259's data line talking to a battery not being a secret. Tedious, yes. Annoying, of course. Big pain in the ass. But secret? No. Anybody with a $20 multimeter can figure out that secret. There is no secret when the writing on the chip matches the name of the chip. There is no secret when a $20 tool can tell me exactly where and how everything fits together. Further, what I would argue is that even without you having this tool in front of you, even if you don't have this board in front of you, if you Google 820-2879, if you Google 820-3437, how long would it take for an 11-year-old child with $10 in his PayPal account to be able to answer that question? If it's a trade secret, if it is a secret, then why is it so easy to obtain? Why is it so easy to obtain either in document form or simple measurements? Because I would venture to argue that anything that I can measure with my own two hands with a $20 tool is not a secret. That's my point for today. And that is the point that I'd like to get across with a lot of these videos. A 3.3 volt power line having a fuse before it makes its way to a trackpad. Does that sound like something that if one company knew and another company didn't, that would change the world? Does that sound like something that Samsung or Acer or Asus or Toshiba or Fujitsu with multi-billion-dollar engineering departments couldn't figure out on their own? That perhaps we should put a fuse between a power line and the part of the device that most often comes into contact with water. Do you think that it is a patentable thing that is going to create a new market for these new, amazingly innovative devices, that this laptop knows how to read the battery and this one doesn't? It's 2016, people. It is 2016. We are beyond the point of this being something that is patentable, secret, or in any way copyrightable. One thing that I think is interesting here, one point that I think is interesting, is that I see that a lot of manufacturers are realizing that you cannot copyright a machine-created document that simply outlays how something is put together. So if this is a product that I can literally rip apart, again, if I want to rip the CPU off of it, if I want to rip the RAM off of it and beep ahead and see where everything goes, I can do that. And you have a machine create a document that simply says where all of this is put together, that's not copyrightable. And what I find interesting is that there are companies now that are actually inserting human hand-drawn cartoons into their manuals, not so that they're cuter or they're more humorous to the end user, but rather with the intention of the document then being copyrightable. Ain't that some shit? So that's about all I have to say for today. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious if you can actually solve my challenge. Again, can you figure out a real secret, an honest-to-God actual secret that I put effort into keeping, something that you can keep as a secret, unlike the location of a power line or a fuse in a consumer electronics motherboard? Can you tell me who I had a crush on when I was 11 and 12 years old?